You're listening to No Plot, Only Lore, a podcast about games and the tables we play them at. Your DMs tonight and every night are Josh and Kris. You can find us on all podcast platforms or check us out at noplotonlylore.com. If you like what you hear today, please rate and review the show and share it with everyone you've ever met.
Welcome back to No Plot Only Lore, brought to you today by the Belching Dragon, the foremost tavern of the small town of Nashkel, an Amnian town nuzzled in the slopes of the Cloud Peaks. Although part of Ammon, Nashkel has always maintained an independent spirit, and you can taste that in the beers brewed by the Belching Dragon. Thank you very much, Belching Dragon, for your sponsoring of this episode. They gave us 3 gold pieces, and we're going to spend them all in one place.
Yeah. They also slid me a small cask of their Highland mead.
How is it?
It's a little spicy, honestly, for my palate.
Okay. No, that's fair.
I wasn't expecting them to put chilies into a mead, but I'm always willing to try something new. So,
never been a mead fan, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Like the meads that I have tried have either tasted like diabetic piss or pickles, and I've never understood why that's the dichotomy.
I understand diabetic piss. The pickles I don't really get.
Yeah, it was just like a few of them that I've tried have tasted like pickle juice.
That's very strange.
Yeah, not a fan of that flavor in my like boozy drinks at all. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I don't really want pickle flavor in much of anything, but whatever.
Yeah. So okay. I hear a nasty rumor that you're going to be playing a game tomorrow.
Yeah, so I had a weird... We were trying to come up with some topics because our backlog of ideas for episodes was running low, and I'm helping a brand new DM run a one-shot tomorrow. He's played maybe 2-3 games of Dungeons and Dragons at all.
As a player?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good way to get into it.
Yeah, and he's like, I want a DM. So a couple of us who've played with him in the other games and they're just more experienced, we're like, yeah, for sure, we'll hop in on a one shot with you. And we looked over. So he's making this whole thing himself. His first. So he wants to have everyone start about level 7, jump into things a little bit more straight ahead and a little more complex than just the basics. And then we looked at the encounter.
Brave.
Yeah.
That's brave.
So
7. Yeah.
7's fine.
7's fine. It, like the game isn't broken at 7, but it is a little harder to keep track of what everybody can and can't do.
Yeah. So
as when we start to see like action economy becoming an issue.
Yeah, he kind of overestimated how good level 7s were, and accidentally made the first encounter a CR 23. So that was aggressive. So we kind of were like, hey, that's not how math works. You got to try this again.
What was the encounter?
I don't even remember. Keith reviewed it with him, and he's like, yep, you will kill us all so fast.
Was he just like adding all of your levels together to get the CR?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, you know what? That's a fair assumption to make.
Yeah, no one explained it to him because it's not really like transparent. But
yeah, there aren't a big bold thing saying that. Anyway, yeah, your character.
Yeah, I'm going to play in this tomorrow, and I have to make a character for it. And I thought it might be interesting to walk through the character creation experience to see my thought process and my strategy and some of the choices I make and why I make them. And yeah, just kind of discuss, I guess, the differences between my approach and your approach and what we look for when making interesting characters. So to start off, I'll start from like the initial sort of genesis of what I'm going to be going with here. When I'm making a new character, especially for one shots, I like to do something new that I haven't done before. So I haven't actually played a full-blown barbarian before, so I decided, okay, I am going to make some sort of barbarian. Now, sorry, I should take one step back first. The other people in the group, there's I think one new player as well. I am inclined to let everyone else make their decisions about what they want to play before I make mine, because I find that I am the most flexible when it comes to character creation. I don't have like a particularly favored type of character to make. I just want to make something new and interesting, and I'll find a way to make whatever the party needs
You play Phil.
interesting for
You,
myself.
you,
Yeah,
you play the Phil role. It doesn't matter what everybody else is playing. You'll play whatever.
exactly.
Yep.
I definitely believe that despite what like different rulebooks will say, you do actually need like a good spread of types of characters within a party. Balance wise,
Depends on your
just to
game,
like
but sure.
make them, especially with like new DMs who
Yeah.
like you need to have. So the rest of the party, we have a actually, let me pull up the specific list because I made sure that they all got together and did a session 0 before I did, or before I made my character. So we have, let's see here. I know there was a
We talked about this a
druid.
little bit. I think you said that it was all casters.
Yeah, it is all casters. So here we go. We have a wood elf druid of the Circle of the Land, going full caster. We have a Spring Eladrin bard of the College of Glamour,
Right.
and then a forest gnome cantrip adept wizard.
Okay.
So
I don't know if the mics were hot when we were discussing the cantrip wizard.
I
'cause,
don't
like,
recall either.
We did talk a little bit about it, and like my main concern with that party composition is that you don't have anybody putting out consistent damage.
Right.
Right, like you have a lot of people who are putting out big damage once in a while, but it's very much a 5-minute workday party, like, as a
Yes.
whole.
Yes. But also it's a one shot, so we're kind of encouraged to use all of the spell slots in our pages, right?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So obviously that party is lacking a front line. It's lacking beef. So I decided, okay, it's barbarian time.
So you've never played a barbarian before?
I've never played a barbarian. I have played like lots of frontline characters.
Yeah.
But I think the closest I played to a barbarian is like not a barbarian at all. It was a rune priest.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's like I played wardens, I played fighters, I played rune priest, I played warlord.
Where the circumstances allow for it. And, like this was obviously easier when I was involved in actual play stuff, like a what do they call that? The organized play stuff.
Oh yeah, yep.
Where the circumstances allow it, I like to try and play at least every base class once
Yeah.
when a new version of D&D comes out. And I know that that's like not always easy to do when you don't always know where your next group is coming from.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I made sure that I knew a pretty basic idea of each of the classes very, very early on in the life cycle of 5th. So it's just kind of surprising to me that you've never had an opportunity to play a barbarian, or maybe you just like didn't take that opportunity.
I go for weird things. I played like I was really interested in the psionics in 4th edition. 5th edition, I've only played 3 classes, I think. I've played paladin, monk, and sorcerer. So yeah, I wanted to get out of the
It's a decent spread.
yeah. I mean, the monk was like, hey, I wanted to play a monk all through 4th edition, never made it happen, and then as soon as I had the opportunity, I made a monk. I played 2 different types of paladins because it turns out the 2-headed beatstick paladin's pretty fun. And then, yeah, I wanted to recreate the Invoker from 4th edition, so I made a Divine Soul Sorcerer. So it turns out I actually accidentally recreated more like a Warlord, but that's fine. So yeah, so I decided I want to go with a Barbarian. Now, I am... So in thinking about what I wanted the barbarian to be, there's obviously all the different classic barbarian types, and then you may have gotten the hint from using the cantrip adept, but Keith and I decided to take a look at a publication from Kobold Press called the Tome of Heroes, which is a bunch of extra 5th edition content. So races, class options. There's let's see, some alternate adventuring rules, magic items, backgrounds.
What's the theme of the book?
Just character options.
Character options.
Okay. It's just a bunch of options for, everything from spells to,
Because if there's one thing that 5th edition was definitely lacking, it was books of random options for player characters. Like, I feel like that's a niche.
Yeah. Yeah, they would hide 1 or 2 new things in a book of garbage. So, they had a race that I played a little bit of in 5th edition when I played that Rune Priest, but they had Minotaurs in here.
Oh, cool.
So I was looking at Minotaur because 1, I think they're cool. 2, I think they fit barbarians really well. And 3, while not a power gamer, I often choose races with like appropriate stat preferences for the class I'm playing. I believe in that. What's that?
Do you know if the 5.5 books have monster character species?
Don't know.
In the new monster manual?
As far as I know, all of that stuff was in the Monsters of the Multiverse, which is going to get reprinted as a new book as well. Like they're redoing some of those books.
I do not understand why Wizards wouldn't make that just part of the base game.
Right.
Like, everything that is vaguely humanoid that seems like it would be a cool player character species should have a species block in the description of that monster. Yeah. Like, the fact that Minotaurs exist and then you just don't get to play one unless you get third-party stuff makes absolutely no goddamn sense to me.
Oh, you're right.
So, yeah, I'm always glad to see somebody filling that niche. Like, even just the classic monsters, right? Like, there should be a stat block for if you become a vampire. There should be a stat block for what happens if you become a werewolf. There should be a stat block for if you want to play silly cat people or silly fox people. If you want to do furries in your game, there should be some support for that, right? Like, and there's obviously a market for that.
Yeah.
Like, there are obviously people who want this.
I mean, 4th edition had 3 different players' handbooks that were mostly just, hey, here's a bunch of cool new races, I want to play a Shardmind if we could figure out how to make one happen. I liked the Wilden. I liked the Aasimar. There's been like a little bit of that. Like I know I'm playing an Aasimar now, but there was a Deva were another one that haven't been explored again.
I know a guy who plays nothing but Goliaths.
I mean,
that's it.
Hey, do what works. Even I don't know how to pronounce it. Mull from Dark Sun.
Mul.
The like half dwarf, half.
I think it is supposed to be mule.
Yeah, I've always pronounced it mule. But anyways, yeah. So anyway, so I've settled on the Minotaur. I settled on Barbarian. So step 1, ability scores. Now I don't know about you, I prefer to use a standard array.
Every time.
Yeah, I know other places that like to roll. I don't like rolling. I think that makes, if your stats are too good, you just kind of make broken characters right off the hop. And I'm not a fan.
I don't have a problem with, like, if everybody at the table wants to roll, like, I'm not going to force anybody to use a standard array, but it is always the option that I put out first.
Right.
If everybody at the table wants to roll, I am okay rolling, but then you have to get into the consideration of, like, what types of rolling do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Are you going to do the 4d6, take out the lowest? Are you going to do, like, roll 10 times and take the top 8?
Right.
Or whatever, like, however many fucking stats there are, top 6. Right, and there's so many different considerations there. And then, like, the fact that you're stuck with the tyranny of fortune.
Yeah.
Like, there is always the chance that you're going to get somebody who rolls 18s and rolls them all the time.
Yep.
Just like, here's a character whose stats, none of them are lower than 14.
Yep. I understand people who are like, oh yeah, like we've always done, what was it, 46 drop the lowest?
Yeah.
But okay, so there's a concept in board games, and I'm sure other games too, over of input randomness versus output randomness. And frankly, so most of the board games I play, I prefer input randomness, right? Because then I feel it's a little more tactical. Then I'm like, okay, well, here's the hand I've been dealt. How do I work with that? When it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, I prefer output randomness.
Fair.
I want to like do my best and then let fate take the wheel, or whatever's going to happen.
Like standard array, like one, it's relatively well balanced.
Yeah.
And everybody has access to the same numbers.
Yep.
So nobody, like, as far as like balanced stuff goes, harkening back to our last episode, everything is perfectly balanced. Everybody has the same basic stats. It's lovely. And it's predictable, right? Like it's very easy to put your character together because you don't have to spend time rolling stats. You just decide where stuff goes.
Yep. Yeah, no.
So what's your dump stat on this barb?
Okay, so my dump stat is dexterity.
Okay.
So with the barbarian, we're using the stat. So first of all, as a minotaur, they've got. I'm using this special option of a minotaur from the book called a behind Kauai. They're basically like water buffalo. So they.
See, I heard behind Kauai.
I know.
And my weeb brain went in some weird places.
No, these are not these are South Asian water buffalo.
Oh, okay.
So lots, even the iconography or the imagery in the book has a lot of like Indian influence.
Okay.
So they've got an extra 2 to their constitution, extra 1 to their strength. Great. So right off the hop, I know that I'm going to need high strength because that's my attack stat. That's my damage stat. I am a barbarian. So I'm going to put my 15 there for a total of 16 and a +3. And then because I know I've got the +2 bonus to con, I'm actually going to put my 14 in charisma, which we'll get to later because there's some charisma triggered abilities that I have as a barbarian. And then constitution gets the 13, so +2 to both of those. And then I went down the line, wisdom, then intelligence, then dexterity. So
when you gave me this idea for what we were going to do for the episode, my first response was that I was going to put together a bunch of pretentious ass questions to pepper you with over the course of character creation.
Yes.
So the first one that I am going to ask that is not actually stat related at all is, how does this barbarian display affection?
So this barbarian is their primary love language is touch.
Okay.
So whether he's just kind of leaning against you or like gently nuzzling you with his big ol' snout, yeah, he's very much a connected barbarian. He likes to, be in physical proximity with the people that he cares about, and is very comfortable with public displays of affection.
I just got a mental image of like, you ever see those TikToks of people snuggling Highland cows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm imagining that.
Yeah, that's basically exactly it.
Perfect.
So, step 2, I'm going to go look through the barbarian options now, and go down. So, if we start at level 1, but I'm going to skip right because we're at level 7. So I'm going to start plugging in things that I know right off the hop. I know what my proficiency bonus, and I'm just going down the list on my character sheet here. I know that my proficiency bonus is going to be a +3. I know that I'm going to have 4 rages. And I know that I'm going to have a +2 to my rage damage. So I'm going to find the spots on my sheet here. Under resources, I'm going to put rages. I'm going to put the 4 on there. And then in brackets, I'm going to put +2 rage damage.
What does he consider an overrated virtue?
An overrated virtue. Like silence, or like not privacy, but like in that way that people are like, oh, like it's good to like not talk too much and be like, not be like overly brash. He very much wants to be like in the middle of every conversation. And
okay.
Yeah.
It's like quietness.
Yeah.
Quietude.
Silence is violence, or whatever. All right. So, let's go languages. So, being what he is, he already, let's see.
Moo.
Yeah, he knows moo. Sick. It doesn't have... Oh, here we go. Base Minotaur stuff. I was like, what is happening? I forgot that, like, there's primary and secondary Minotaur stuff. Oh. There we go. He's got... So they did this weird thing where they gave extra bonuses instead of, like, real class features. So, his strength is even higher now. He gets an extra 1 to his con. But that doesn't change things, really, on the numbers.
Third-party ridiculously.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't want to write too many things, so they just kind of like gave them little stat bumps in some things. So, languages: Common and Minotaur.
Where did he learn Common?
He in his early days, he sold his body as into the labor force. So he was grinding grains at a local like mill, and so he learned from the other Minotaur there.
They trusted a guy with the head of a cow to grind grain?
Oh no, everyone who works there had the head of a cow. All the Minotaurs were just doing the physical labor that an actual cow would do. So, okay, so I've got the basic languages there from his race. I'm just going to quickly check the barbarian specific ones, because sometimes they get extra stuff. It doesn't look like he does. So it's fine.
How does he feel about his family?
He is at odds with his family. They are extremely religious, and he has sort of not fallen away, but he's gotten a different perspective on their belief system, which has put him in conflict with his family members.
Is this Dungeons and Dragons as therapy, Josh?
No, it's not. This is... Christopher decides to ask me random questions, and so I just fill in responses as I'm thinking about something else. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to be a basic bitch and take a great axe, I think. Because...
there was a question I was about to ask about languages as well. And this one's a soft tee up for you. Does he have an accent?
He does have an accent, but the accent unfortunately comes from the fact that his tongue is just too large and muscled to pronounce words in common properly. My son was actually born with an enlarged tongue, so this is the more D&D as therapy.
Well, we were talking a bit about this character on the last podcast, and I'm pretty sure we did mention that he's just based on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, okay, so I wanted to try one of the new barbarian options in this book, which, you know what, I'm gonna grab the name of it right now. because it's fun. So this is the Path of Booming Magnificence.
Right.
And what... So these barbarians who walk the path of booming magnificence strive to be as lions among their people, symbols of vitality, majesty, and courage. They serve at the vanguard, leading their allies at each charge and drawing their opponent's attention away from more vulnerable members of the group. As they grow more experienced, members of this path often take on roles as leaders or in other integral positions. And then everything about this type of barbarian is about them yelling at people. And because I have like a pretty passable Arnie yodel or whatever for his different like big Arnie noises, I'm also a big fan of this band called Austrian Death Machine, which is just Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes as metalcore songs.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be an over the top caricature of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But as a cow.
See, I love the description of the this type of barbarian being the lions among their people, and then you're literally a cow.
Yeah. And then I just roar at people.
Yeah.
If you've never heard like a cow, like a bull, like bellow at people, like it's.
I'm from Alberta. I've been to a couple of rodeos.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, we actually got into talking about that at work not too terribly long ago, and it is surprising to me how few people have been to rodeos.
Yeah, and like I guess my perspective was warped because I used to run, still kind of do, but used to run a side business doing special event security for specifically like rodeos and small town ag society events. So I've been to a lot of them, and I learned way later that that's like not common.
My dad's a paramedic in a small town in Alberta, and so he got into the rodeos for free, which meant that we got into the rodeos for free.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were at a rodeo like every other weekend for most of our summers when I was a kid, and did not strike me as a thing that didn't happen all over the province.
Yeah, there you go.
Even people from Calgary are like, no, there's only one rodeo a year here. It's the Stampede.
Liars.
Okay,
so sorry, I've done one of the boring things and just calculated my hit points. So we're just going with the standard 12 plus con mod at the start, and then we're taking the average of 7 plus my con mod for every level after the first. So I've got 68 health, which is respectable. So
tell me about his best friend.
He has no friends. No, that's not true.
He has no friends.
So because of the nature of the kind of like situations he gets himself into, he has a lot of friends, but he doesn't have like a deep connection with one particular person.
Okay.
So he has a lot of like, not like surface level friendships. Like they are genuinely friends. He does genuinely care about them, but he doesn't invest enough time in any one particular relationship to like make that like the best one. And it's, partially by circumstance and in some ways partially by choice, because he's found that like people can be a little bit transient in his life. And so he doesn't want to like overextend himself, as it were. And he feels that it's unfair to the other friends that he already has that are still around to like invest a bunch of time in a new person.
Something about the way you described that just reminded me of a progression fantasy series that I've been reading, where the idea behind the books is that it's like at the end of a progression fantasy thing. So like all of the characters are Goku / Superman level powerful.
Okay.
And they're all like joined together on this like uber powerful spaceship that is specifically like hand picking incredibly powerful people to be its crew.
Okay.
And one of the characters is a Power Ranger. He's like the last Power Ranger.
Yeah.
And his like magic and his power literally comes from the power of friendship.
Okay.
Right, like he is able to to see and gauge the amount of friendship that he has with someone and the type of friendship that he has with someone. And the tighter their bonds are, the stronger his magic is in relation to them.
Okay.
I thought that was fucking dope.
Yeah, that's pretty
he
neat.
is a deeply annoying character. Like he's so like open and genuine and dumb and like sweet in a way that makes no sense for the situations that they're in. And it is occasionally hard to read his chapters. So the most recent book in that series was actually just all about him. It was a hard read, but the rest of the series has been great.
Okay, so step 2,
Power of friendship.
Yeah. Oh, so I wanted to just I was thinking about the character and the questions you've asked me, and I realized that I wanted to make a change in what I'm using for my base stats.
Okay.
I want to make wisdom my dump stat.
Okay.
So I swapped that with dexterity.
That's why we're asking the questions. Right?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to make him a little more of a himbo.
Right.
So like, I don't want to use the phrase, but I will, as like sort of a golden retriever of a human being.
Yeah.
Like
I guess my approach to this whole thing, and the reason that I'm asking these like random ass questions while you're filling out the boring parts of character sheets is just like, this is how I get to the core of who my characters are. Right. Is I just ask questions of them that I would also be asking about like a character in fiction. Right. So like when I ask about who somebody's like best friend is, or who their like quote unquote other friend is, the friend that like isn't really part of their crew.
Yeah.
That gives me insights into who that character is. And sometimes that ends up with me like reflecting those things in the statistics of the characters. So kind of cool that you made that choice on the fly while we're doing this.
Well, you're welcome. Okay. So, I'm just taking a look at so I'm going to put my hit dice down here, which is like just straight from the player book. So 7d12. And then my AC. So here I've actually got the ability unarmored defense. So my AC equals 10 plus my dex mod plus my con mod. So that is 13, which isn't awesome, but we'll live with it.
I know that they had to for like marketing reasons, but the fact that they didn't name that bulletproof nudity makes me mad to this day.
Well, you can go play a game like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and maybe they'll have that in there.
Oh, I have, and I will.
Let's see, what else have I got to worry about here? So often it's a lot of like just filling in information that we already have. So like under proficiencies, I don't have to make a choice. I'm proficient in light and medium armor, in shields, simple weapons, martial weapons. My saving throws, so strength and con saving throws, I'll be proficient in, which is obvious given my beefcake status. And then I can choose two from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. So wisdom is not awesome for me. The thing he's most proud of?
What's the thing he's most proud of? Past act. I'm going to say act, not like a thing.
Oh, but I was going to answer for the thing.
Yeah, no, let's go for an act that he is most proud of from his past.
Because
he's level 7. He's got some skeletons in that closet.
Yeah. So the most proud?
Most proud.
He won a wet t-shirt contest on spring break.
Fantastic. What is the past act that he's most ashamed of?
So after winning that wet t-shirt contest, he took some money to work a bachelorette party that wound up crossing lines he wasn't comfortable with.
Oh, okay. That went darker than I was expecting. All right, yeah. What was his strongest childhood memory?
The day he got his nose ring.
Mm. That seems like it would be a big deal in Minotaur culture.
Yeah, it's huge.
Is there anything associated with that, like a ritual, or like does he have to like do an act of some sort to be worthy of the
more
ring?
of a so in his village, the calves go out, and there are just a series of increasingly large stones that are in like a nearby field that the kids play in. And there's a fence that cuts through the middle of this hill that they play on. And the largest stone there, the day you're able to pick up that stone and throw it over the fence, or at least like get it over the fence, then you are considered no longer a child, and because you're able to go work now. So that's when you get your ring.
So does somebody have to like go and pick it up on the other side of the fence and throw it back over, or do they just throw it back and forth across the fence?
They just throw it back and forth across the fence.
Okay. What's your saving throws looking like?
So far so good. I need to pick. So I need to pick a couple of skills, and I think I'm going to be a loser and pick intimidation and athletics. Yeah,
that's pretty classic for the barbarian.
Yeah, because everything else, like the animal handling, intimidation, or animal handling, nature, perception, survival, like none of those. I mean, I guess they don't fit his character. Maybe the survival, but it's also like just not worth it.
I'm still sad that they got rid of profession skills.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you could just be like profession laborer, right?
But also, this guy is just like not proficient in any tools, so I'm really not worried about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or like, is there laborer's tools or like I guess craftsman's tools?
Yep, there's all sorts of basic craftsman's tools.
Yeah.
All right, so his initiative's +1. So as this type of Minotaur, he has an ability called Wetland Dweller. So he has adapted to his home terrain. Difficult terrain composed of mud or from wading through water up to his waist. Doesn't cost any extra movement. And he has a swimming speed of 25 feet. So I'm going to add that to his swim speed. His move speed is just the standard 30.
So there's really two directions that you can go with Wet Minotaur. And like one of them is very like beefcakey, like cover of a romance novel style Wet Minotaur, but the description that you just gave me sounds a lot more like Swamp Minotaur.
More like what, sorry?
Swamp Minotaur.
Swamp Minotaur.
Where it's just like this nasty, wet, like hair dragging in the swamp water type Minotaur. And that has a little bit changed my mental image of your guy.
I don't want you to think of him like that, because there is a different type of Minotaur that's specifically that like Highland cow, long-haired version. Think of this one like a Brahma bull, where it's like a tight, slick, dark hair. Not whatever you just said.
All right. Speaking of Harlequin romance novels, has he ever been in love?
He has been in, I don't want to say like he's been in lust, but like there was one cow, like an actual cow, that he would notice.
Oh no.
across the fields when he was working at the mill, and always at a distance from like far away, and he's just never able to like approach her.
She just had like a sultry chew, or like
there was a look in her eyes when she regurgitated her cud that
see, because when you said actual cow, like now I'm not thinking like a Minotaur cow, I'm thinking like a four-legged.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Neat. I retract the question.
So my headcanon about like mixed species like this, like minotaurs and half orcs and half elves, is that they are allowed to be fully attracted to like either half if they want to. And it's not weird.
I mean, you can say it's not weird, but I don't think that makes it not weird.
Well, I mean, you can't go around saying like half elves are only allowed to be attracted to half elves. They can be attracted to an elf or a human, right?
Okay, so I go by the Harkness test.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Harkness test?
I've heard the name, but give me the definition.
Okay. So in Doctor Who, there is a character named Jack Harkness, who is a notorious galactic slut.
Okay.
He will get it on with anything and anybody if there is like any amount of mutual attraction involved.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the test that has been devised for whether or not you can bang a species that is completely different from your own is the species intelligent enough to provide consent?
Okay.
Are they capable of communicating consent?
Okay.
And are they of an appropriate age for their species to be providing that consent?
Okay.
And so the illustrations that I've seen of that are like a slightly alien dragon with like the fish fins for ears.
Okay.
And somebody being like, "Hey, do you want to have sex?" And like the dragon is blushing and is like, "Yes, I certainly would." And then the next panel is like, "Hey, would you like to have sex?" And the dragon is like, and it's like, "Do not fuck this."
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
It's not a perfect test.
No, but I feel like a cow could conceivably have that level of intelligence.
I don't. Like, obviously we're playing with fantasy rules, so like this specific cow may have like some greater intelligence than is normal for a cow. Maybe they're a person who's been transmogrified by a wizard.
Okay, you know what?
Be a cow.
Now that you mention it, I'm just gonna quickly cow 5e stats.
Are you looking at the int of the cow?
Yeah. Oh no, we're.
Oh no.
Oh no. This. So the classic cow from Volo's Guide to Monsters has an int of 2.
Yeah. That is the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, he never acted on those dark urges. So we're just going to keep that in his past. And I really appreciate it if you never told the rest of the party what I told you about him.
You know, it's not like we're going to be publishing this in a publicly viable format where everyone can hear about your cow lust.
In like 2 months, I'm just going to get this text message. Like, hey, about that cow. Okay, all right. So
I've been thinking we need to start clipping things for YouTube shorts, and I think I found our thing.
Josh describes cow lust. All right.
Okay.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay. You have a character sheet to fill out.
Yeah, I'm getting there. All right. Resistances, we have none. Other skills, who cares? I'll figure that out later. Proficiencies, they're not really important right now. That's fine. Actually, so this is an infuriating thing about like unarmored defense in general.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it really just like it sort of negates the whole point of having like armor proficiencies at all for that character. Like
yeah,
it says
I've never understood.
It says I'm proficient in medium armor, so let's go see what that means. So, one thing I will say about the first edition PA or the what would you call this? The first 5th edition PHB. So it's kind of laid out like dog shit.
Yep.
So I'm hunting through the middle of the book. Okay, finally I found some equipment. And let's go see what we got for light and medium armor. So I can get... So right off the bat, I have unarmored defense, which puts me at AC 13. If I buy a hide shirt, I'm still at AC 13.
Yes. So you've saved gold by getting that feature.
Okay, but then as soon as I get a chain shirt, I go to AC 14. And I've negated my class feature.
By wearing armor, you're negating other class features.
Like what?
Rage.
I didn't read Rage. Hold on. No, I can Rage as long as I'm not wearing heavy armor.
Chain is heavy armor.
No, it's not. A chain shirt is medium armor.
Oh, chain shirt is medium armor, yeah.
Yeah, chain mail is heavy armor, but a chain shirt is just whatever. So that's what's kind of annoying. It's like, well, I guess, I mean, I haven't done my stat boosts from leveling up yet, so whatever. We'll take a look at that later. I just find it frustrating. Like,
yeah,
why does unarmored defense exist? Especially on something that's meant to be, like, in close combat. But, whatever. So
I know that, like, refrigerators don't actually exist in... Well, I mean, they might. There's probably a magic cold box.
There's an ice box, for sure.
Yeah, there's ice boxes.
Yeah.
What is in his fridge?
So his fridge, he's a fruitarian.
Okay.
So it's nothing but exotic fruits that he can get his hands on, and then whatever's in season locally. Currently it's lots of berries and some melons. And then as the seasons progress to the fall here, there's going to be a lot more like apples.
Okay. Does he have a bed that he sleeps in normally?
No.
Okay. So he's itinerant. He moves around quite a bit.
Yeah, like his right now his main source of income is on the road, so he tends to pick up jobs either protecting like trade caravans or taking small jobs in the towns that they stop in. So, yeah, he's got like right now he doesn't really have like an ice box, but he has a basket of fruits that he's bringing with him.
Yeah, I was mostly looking at like what would he keep on his nightstand.
Right.
And if he doesn't really have one, then nothing. But I guess, like, what does he keep under his pillow? What does he want to keep close at hand when he's sleeping?
His weapons. They are the things that have been with him the longest. He's tried to maintain like a purposefully disconnected state from the material world. So he I don't want to say he's a minimalist, but the few things he does keep with him, he values highly.
Fair.
So we're looking at features and traits. I'm going to fill in some of this stuff that's like not really important, but I'll go over a little bit with you. So because of the type of Minotaur he has strong back. So his carrying capacity is strength multiplied by 20 instead of by 15. And then we already went over Wetland Dweller. So those are the things just from like his like specific Minotaur thing. Other Minotaur stuff, he has charge as like an ability. On his turn, if he moves at least 10 feet toward the target and hits it with a horn attack, he has natural attack, so his horns are sturdy, sharp weapons. So he can make unarmed strikes with them. And when he hits with them, they deal piercing damage equal to 1d6 plus strength. So, yeah, once per turn, if he moves at least 10 feet, he can hit with a horn attack in the same turn. So it'll do an extra d6 piercing damage, and I can shove the target 5 feet.
Does that take an action?
The attack would, yeah.
Okay.
So,
just wasn't sure if it was like an action or a bonus action.
Yeah, no. So, like, the way movement and attacks work in 5th edition, he can make, like, as long as he moves 10 feet towards the target of a horn attack he makes during his movement, then it can count as a charge and do extra damage and knock something out of the way. So
I just thought it'd be kind of cool if like you could do a charge and then also hit with your weapon. But
well, I mean, right now he can't because he does have extra attack. So
right.
Yeah, he could charge and hit with his horns and like hit with his extra attack and hit with his horns and shove the thing, now 5 feet. So it's it's a thing. He's not gonna like make a big deal of it. He's got dark vision, whatever. He's got labyrinth sense, so he can retrace without error any path he has previously taken with no ability check.
See, that feels like the sort of ability that the Minotaur myth would really want to have.
Yeah, like this is like the classic labyrinth living Minotaur kind of thing. They've just chosen to add some little extra flavor to it.
Just like if he was able to find his way out at any time, he would have just left.
Yeah.
What does he think is the worst thing you can do to a person?
The worst thing you can do to a person is
have them perform at a bachelor party after a wet t-shirt contest.
Bachelorette party.
Bachelorette party. Bachelor party. I'm not here to judge anyone's journey, but other than the cow thing.
The worst he thinks you could do is to rob someone of their purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he have a reason for that? Like, has he seen that happen?
Yeah, he has seen people who have devoted long amounts of their lives to like a specific function and role be, put out to pasture, and they just kind of wander aimlessly and then die of lack of direction.
Did he keep his most recent promise?
Yes, always.
What was it?
He promised never to go back to the scene of the bachelorette party.
Look, I don't know if your DM is going to get like an advanced copy of this or not, but I feel like there's so many things that he could just like throw into this one shot just based on the conversation that we've had.
Yeah, he's not getting any of this, and no one else at the table is going this hard on like background stuff. So like,
no. They
if you just like chill out a bit, like,
yeah, they don't have a Christopher like chirping in their ear, being like, "Hey, your character's backstory should be 35 pages long."
Yeah, no. Listen, all right. Everything I know about this character ended after I said the phrase Schwarzenegger barbarian. Like,
yes. That's why I'm here. I'm here to provide that pretentious ass question asking to get your head into this character's game.
Oh, apparently. Oh no, I was wrong about something. I don't get charged as the this type of Minotaur. He loses charge to get the wetland dweller.
Okay.
But still has labyrinth sense, which is very important as a fundamental Minotaur skill.
A little bit.
Okay, so that's done. Proficiencies we kind of glossed over. We're fine there. Abilities. So we've done everything basically from his character background or from his racial background. So I'm just going to quickly hit some of the highlights on the barbarian side of things. So I already went over unarmored defense. So he does have reckless attack now. So he gets to choose to attack recklessly to get advantage on the attack, but gives up advantage to people attacking him now. So
okay, yep, reckless is good.
Yep. Which, I mean, if you've ever played one of these games, killing things fast is sometimes the best defense you can have. So,
and with rage, I don't know if you get like standard rage or if you get like a variant based on the type of barbarian you are, but like you take half damage from most damage sources while you're raging. So reckless attack means that, like, yeah, you're going to take more damage than you usually would, but you still take half as much damage as anybody else.
So with rage now, you get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So like all of the standard melee damages. But I mean, spells still hit hard.
They do. Yep.
So just watch out for magic users and try to get in their face and kill them.
I mean, that only counts if they have to make an attack roll, I guess.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so I mean, you're going to do extra damage because you're making strength attacks. You're going to hit more often if you use reckless attack. So in theory, you could murder any casters before they become a real problem. So let's see. That's the level 2 stuff. Oh, level 3, we have to choose the primal path. Oh no, sorry, I missed one. Danger sense. So advantage on dex saving throws against anything you can see, like traps or spells. Right. So that's awesome. He's just real good.
Do you have any birthmarks or like features, like distinguishing features on his face?
On his face, no. Other than his ornate nose ring.
Okay. What about on his body? Like, does he have any tattoos or?
Tattoos wouldn't really show through his fur, but he does have a discoloration just above his left knee on the inner thigh.
How furry is he?
I mean, he's covered in like a fine coat of like hair. Like, I don't know if you've seen what a Brahmin looks like, but like,
I mean, yeah,
like a black Brahmin like has hair, but it's like close cropped.
Yeah. Just I never know which type of minotaur we're dealing with. Like, do we have the type of minotaur that is only like cow hairy from the shoulders up, or are we dealing with like the cow hairy top to bottom?
No, I think. Let's see. Look at this picture. Yeah, no, cow hairy top to bottom is pretty accurate. It's kind of like skin in a lot of places, but you know, like especially around like the hooves on the feet and like the head, it's more cow-like.
Okay.
So
about, like scarification or anything?
Nope.
Like some sort of body decoration? No.
Nope. Okay. His parents do though, not him. So primal path at 3rd level. Choosing the path of booming magnificence, he gets Roar of Defiance. So he can announce his presence by unleashing a thunderous roar as part of the bonus action he takes to enter a rage. So until the beginning of his next turn, each creature within 30 feet of me of my choice that can hear me has disadvantage on any attack roll that doesn't target me.
In that vein, does he have a catchphrase?
No. No. He mostly just yells his own name.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Krom. With
Krom.
a K. Krom. Krom.
All right.
So, this is one of the points that I brought up to you earlier that I want to talk about here. With using third-party books, is that that particular wording right there is awful. It is not concise.
Sorry, read it again?
So, until the beginning of your next turn, each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you that can hear you has disadvantage on any attack roll that doesn't target you.
Is it only... Okay, yeah, no, the wording on that is bad.
Yeah, because that wording implies that unless I specify, it includes my allies.
I mean, it very likely does, but you get to choose.
Well, that's just it. But you could just say enemies.
Like, you could just say enemies, but
like D&D uses enemies and allies as a typing for spells meant to only affect one or the other, and then uses any creature for things meant to affect all things in an area.
My bigger problem with the way that it's worded. Okay, so like I don't hate the way that the targeting is worded.
Right.
So much. Because like, yes, you can decide to include an ally or multiple allies in that if you want to.
I don't know why you would, but you can.
There might be reasons. Who knows? But the bigger problem that I have is like until the beginning of your next turn, any effect that it involves like going through turn order can be weird. Does it include creatures that enter the 30 feet?
Anything that could... No, it's only creatures within 30 feet that can hear me.
It doesn't specify.
So the wording on this would imply, because it doesn't like tag them really when you do it until your next turn, it's like you're yelling the whole time, and anything within 30 feet of you is affected.
Anything of your choice that's within 30 feet of you is affected. Yeah, like the wording of it is ambiguous enough to suggest that like there's going to be an argument about whether or not somebody entering 30 feet is going to be impacted by that yell.
So
right? You have an opportunity
based on this
choose
wording, them? Because a turn is 6 seconds, I would say, yeah, everything within 30 feet of me, whether it started or ended there, if it's making an attack within 30 feet of me, my bellow is so long and loud that they are distracted.
Can you imagine yelling for 6 full seconds?
Yeah, I can do that.
I mean, I can, but I hate it.
Yeah. It's but that's the thing. Like, this is the superhuman part of them, right? We couldn't do it, but we're not barbarians.
Yeah. I think the way that I would probably change that would be to establish targets right now. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, choose any number of characters or creatures within 30 feet of you.
Yeah.
Until the beginning of your next turn, those creatures get blah.
Yeah. Those creatures get disadvantage on any attack that doesn't target. Yeah. So that's the way it should be written, because here's part 2 of the ability.
Oh, no.
Until the rage ends, if a creature within 5 feet of you that heard your Roar of Defiance deals damage to you, you can use your reaction to bellow at them. Your attacker must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take 1d6 thunder damage. The DC is equal to 8 plus Prof plus Charisma. The damage you deal with this feature increases to 2d6 at 10th. Once a creature takes damage from this feature, you can't use this feature on that creature again during this rage. So, when it says a creature that heard your Roar of Defiance, is that the Roar of Defiance on your turn, or every creature that may have been affected by Roar of Defiance in that entire round?
Right. Or, like, it doesn't specify that it had to be somebody that was within that 30 feet to have heard the roar, right? Like, anybody in the room, anybody in the area, you're literally yelling.
Yeah, exactly. Because 30
How far
feet
does
is
that
not
carry?
that far. Like, in theory, anyone within, I'm just going to throw out a number here, anyone within 50 yards could have heard my Roar of Defiance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I just, like, the point that I made when you noted that wording is sometimes weird is that, like, you and I have been spoiled by Magic the Gathering.
Absolutely.
Like, their precision in the way that they word things is second to none.
Right.
They are so good at making sure that the way that they write rules,
but overall, yes.
Except when they're not, but like the times when that has happened are significantly fewer than they should be, considering how many cards there are on that goddamn
I was going to
game.
say, the number of times that it's happened, given the fact that the game has over 100,000 cards, is like unbelievably small.
Yeah. And like, there are errata and judgments that are made on those cards that have changed wording to better fit with what Magic is doing, right? Like, the fact that Magic exists in the way that it does, and the fact that this ability is worded the way that it is, should be a cause for shame for Kobold Press.
Yeah. No, frankly, it should. Like, so I run into this issue with, when I used to be like just like a Magic the Gathering player, and then I decided to sell out of that completely and switch, and now I'm primarily like a tabletop RPG and board game guy. And one of my biggest frustrations, especially early on in my board game like hobby, lifetime, was that there was sometimes ambiguity in the way that something was written in the rulebook, because it didn't have like specific timings and stuff like that. And it took a while to like untrain myself in thinking that way, because most people don't think that way, and they take the most generous, straightforward interpretation of things. But with something like this that has such specific mechanics, and then this is a book that starts with a, what is it, 1, 2, 3, like 4 pages of just the play testers for how this works. And
yeah, so somebody probably should have caught that.
Well, and that's the other part of it too, is that this isn't like, I don't think this is a fault of the playtesters. The playtesters probably, if you were to ask me for the common sense interpretation of how this ability works, it is that when I rage, everything within 30 feet of me that I choose now has this tag from Roar of Defiance that gets disadvantage when they attack, and then until the end of my rage, all of those creatures that were tagged with my Roar of Defiance, I can then react to roar at when they try to attack me. Right?
Yes.
But
yeah,
that's not what's written here.
No. And
Right?
what isn't written there is enough wiggle room for there to be an argument.
Right.
And that's the thing that you're always trying to avoid in game design. You want to make sure that the rules that you have presented are as straightforward and clear as possible. Right? And like, not all of your rules are going to be straightforward. Some of them are going to be incredibly convoluted. But that's why you have the language be as tight and clean as humanly possible, so that everybody knows exactly what you're talking about.
Correct. The other thing, in like, even in the way this is written here, they talk about the DC of the thunder damage that I'm going to do. They could have skipped all that by saying the DC is equal to your spell casting modifier, or your spell casting DC, which is like a common thing that is calculated in every class based on their primary statistic, right? Yep. So, I guess there is a distinction in the books of like what their spell casting thing is, and because barbarians don't have that, they were just like, well, we better specify that it uses your charisma. But like, that could have been much cleaner.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, it could have been. And I don't just find that as a problem in third-party books, to be fair. I do see that as a fairly common problem in Wizards products as well.
Yep. Yeah, it sometimes feels like they just don't have like editors, and it just kind of gets like rushed out the door.
I mean, I don't know what the inner workings are looking like on that. I would assume that deadlines are tight and you can't always make all of the adjustments that you need to make.
Right.
But like, there is an amount of polish that I am used to from that company that suggests that when mistakes like this are made, not even mistakes, but like when stuff like this makes it through and there is ambiguity that still exists, that somebody done fucked up.
Yeah. That's a very reasonable interpretation.
Yeah. I don't think it's actually the case, to be honest. Like, I think that they're doing the best that they can with the resources that they have.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes like the people who are making these games are humans. And so and Dungeons and Dragons is such an incredibly complicated game with so many moving pieces.
Right.
That if they got everything right ever, I would be fucking shocked. But like, yeah, it's pretty common to look at a poorly worded bit of rules and be like, that is dumb and bad, and somebody fucked it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that hard to... I don't know. I am not as generous in my interpretation of the situation as you are.
That's fair.
I mean, it is not that hard because this company also makes Magic the Gathering. They have people whose expertise is in like precise wording and
yeah.
Like for lack of a better word, like a style guide towards writing copy for this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, just grab one person from that team.
I don't think that Dungeons and Dragons has anything as robust as the judges system that Magic does.
True.
And like that's a big part of it too, is just being able to open source your playtesting and like get consistent rulings on things from these types of misinterpretations as they happen.
Right.
Is a big deal. And like Magic has a whole fleet of people who have volunteered to learn every single rule in that game. And like the the Magic the Gathering rulebook is 500 pages long. Like, it is ridiculous. But those people are constantly at games and viewing weird interactions that are happening with cards and having to come up with rulings on them. And at your table, it's just you.
That's frighteningly true. Yeah. At any rate, I was just throwing all these things into my features and traits just to make sure. Let's talk about ability scores for a second. Okay. So I have to take my level 4 ability score improvement. Mm-hmm. My instinct, or a feat. My instinct is normally just take the +2 to your primary stat. So in this case, I want to take +2 to strength. But there's a bunch of feats in this book, and I haven't read them, like any of them, in this alternative book. So
okay. I also have not read them, so I have no idea what to advise you on that.
So let's. Are
you guys playing with feats? Like that was something that kind of shocked me when I was playing recently. Is that feats are actually an optional rule set? Yeah,
coming from 4th, where feats were the whole rule set.
Yeah.
So let's see. We've got a few here. There's not a lot. Let's take a look and see if there's anything interesting in here. Die Hard makes me harder to kill. I get more con, an advantage on saving throws against... Oh, this sucks. Advantage on death saves and advantage on effects that cause me to suffer a level of exhaustion.
Advantage on death saves is fucking dope.
I'm not going to die.
No, that's true. That's for like a character that isn't a barbarian, though. Like, advantage on death saves is huge. Take that as a rogue? Jesus.
Let's see, we got... Ooh, if I was small, I could take Giant Foe, but I don't want to do that. Blah, 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 a bunch of things I don't need.
It'd be kind of funny if you could take that as
Floriographer.
Floriographer.
You have studied the secret language of Floriography. I get int or wisdom up by 1. I learned Floriography, the language of flowers. Similar to Druidic and Thieves' Cant, Floriography is a secret language often used to communicate subtle ideas, symbolic meaning, and even basic messages. Floriography is conveyed through the combinations of colors, styles, and types of flowers in bouquets, floral arrangements, and floral illustrations, often with a gift-giving component. I have read about this kind of stuff, where, like, the Victorians...
Did Jenna Moran write this book?
Like, the Victorians had a way of saying, fuck you, with flowers that they would send to someone's house? Yeah.
No, I need you to look at the written by and tell me if Jenna K. Moran wrote this book.
Written by... I don't see that name. Hold on. Okay. Not on the front, anyways. Designers. There's no Jennas in here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Jenna K. Moran is the person who wrote Nobilis.
Okay.
And Floriography is a huge component of Nobilis.
That's so strange.
So much of it is built around flowers and the meanings of flowers and how people are communicating with those. Not necessarily as like game components. Like you're not actually building bouquets to convey stuff within the game, but like all of that symbolism is built into the game itself.
Oh, okay.
Like the name for the DM in Nobilis is the Hollyhock God.
Oh god. Okay.
So yeah, like it's all built around that, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh shit, this sounds like some Jenna K. Moran nonsense.
Fair enough.
Sorry. Love her stuff.
Yeah. I took a quick glance through the rest of them. Nothing to do with anything that is helpful to me.
So you're going with Floriography?
No, I'm not going with Floriography.
What's his philosophy on life?
He doesn't have one yet. He's too young. He's only in his...
How old is he?
He's in his early 20s.
I don't know how old Minotaurs get.
Minotaurs reach adulthood at 15.
Okay.
And then, yeah. He's still just making his way in the world. He doesn't really have a philosophy yet.
In what ways does he treat people better than himself?
He doesn't.
In what ways does he treat people worse than he treats himself?
He doesn't.
You're so over my dumb fucking questions.
He lives strictly by the golden rule.
Okay.
You know what? I think it comes down to either Great Weapon Master or Savage Attacker. And given that I'm rolling, because the Great Axe has a D12, right?
Yep.
I think we're going to go with Savage Attacker to just
That's fair.
consistently pump damage.
I think I personally would go with the Great Weapon, but that's just me. The minus to the attack roll is mitigated pretty early by your attributes.
True.
And the bonus to the damage is huge. So.
Fine. Fine. We're going with Great Weapon Master. All right.
That was just level 4. You still got like 3 levels to go.
No, I did everything else. I plugged in all of his features. Because that's the fun thing about barbarians. You don't have to make a bunch of choices, really. Because they just hit things with sticks, and then they get bonuses to hitting things with sticks pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to pick spells. You don't have to do any complicated stuff. So the most complicated thing I have left to do is choose a magic item. Because we are starting with I think it's uncommon magic item.
I don't even know what I would take for that.
I have a feeling I'm going to be boring and just take like a +1 weapon. Like, I know it's boring, but...
I mean, you could grab a bag of holding.
Why? It's a one shot.
Hold all the stuff.
It's a one shot.
You could just fill it with bad guys.
Yeah, actually, that's not a terrible idea.
Broom of Flying?
No.
Giving yourself a fly speed is hilarious as a barbarian. Also, the idea of a giant minotaur riding a tiny broom is hilarious.
I get 2 uncommon magic items or 1 rare.
Oh, okay.
So, and this comes back to one of my big gripes with the player's handbook is that there are no magic items in it.
That is true.
And that...
Movable rod?
No. I want to hit things harder.
Gauntlets of Ogre Power.
What's that?
Gauntlets of Ogre Power. They make your strength 19.
Ooh, that does sound good. Let's see, adventuring gear.
And then if you wanted, you could just switch out your strength stat for any other stat.
Oh, because I know I'm going to have the Gauntlets of Ogre Power?
Yeah, you can make your strength your dump. And then...
that's a good point.
Put the Gauntlets of Ogre Power on for a 19 strength.
That's a very good point. Now I'm tempted. It's kind of cheating, but like I kind of love it.
It's a little bit cheating. Plus, you could like put some backstory into it of like this weak little minotaur, like the runt of his litter, barely getting by until he finds these like random ass gauntlets in the woods or some shit.
See, now you've given me bad ideas. See, this is the problem with communal discussion of characters. I had this like very clear idea of a very easy thing I was going to do, and then
I went and made it all complicated and asked a bunch of silly questions and suggested some interesting gear. But like you could grab the gauntlets and the cloak of protection for the +1.
That's true. That's true. I was kind of hoping to just get a big fun weapon though.
I mean, you can still have a big fun weapon and just not have it be magical.
Well, this is overwhelming.
Riveting content right now. Just going through all of these.
I know. And this is the dumb part too. Like when you do this, I'm almost of the opinion that you should just get random items as you play, Not like asking people for specific things they want. Just like, no, here's some trash you found. Here you go. Bye. Go away.
I am kind of doing that for the first like dungeon that involves a dragon that we are playing on Monday.
Yeah.
The horde has been randomly rolled beforehand. So like I know what's in it. It's trash. It's just garbage. Yeah. I'm sure they'll probably find a use for it at some point. They'll figure something out to do with whatever random bullshit I threw in there. But none of it is like cool weapons. It's like a couple of potions and like a ring that has a weird ability. I don't even remember what it was.
We could take a tentacle rod.
Gross. Bring that back to Bessie on the farm. Hey, thanks for making it all the way through this episode of No Plot Only Lore. If you're looking for more, you can always find us at noplotonlylore.com and on all the very best podcast platforms. If you like what you heard today, please share, rate, and review the show to feed my never-ending need for attention and validation.